The Chant is a mix of things that work quite well, that are sadly dragged down by other things that don't. It takes place on an island where they're hosting this hippie retreat. Throw in a big cult vibe, some trippy mushroom tea, a ritual that goes horribly wrong, and whoops, you suddenly open a gateway to a hellish dimension swarming with nightmare mutants that literally feed on your deepest insecurities. The ritual gone wrong opens up this thing called the Gloom. These are regions of the island that are shrouded in this color-coded veil where the line between reality and eldritch horror is paper thin. I actually like this idea. It's pretty with bright saturated colors, yet also horrific, like taking LSD then having a bad trip as you walk through the holiday light show at your local park. However, I thought it was weird how the boundaries between the Gloom and real worlds were so distinct, allowing you to step into and out of the alternate dimensions like dipping a toe in and out of a bathtub. The creatures look fantastic and varied. Like an evolution of the Stranger Things Demogorgon, they're a kind of demented hybrid of flower and mutant creature that feeds on your psychic manure. It's as if the house orchid that you've been neglecting suddenly sprang to life, grew tenfold, sprouted a bunch of Cthulhu tentacles, and then attempted to siphon your soul through your third eye. I like that they tried to do something novel with combat. You get to make like a scout and craft whacking sticks from local flora to whoop demon ass. You can also craft throwables from essential oils and hand-picked herbs. Bye-bye guns and ammo. Hello, Bath and Body Works. Finally, you end up with a variety of special psychic powers gifted to you by collecting coloured crystals. All in all, the combat and enemies are an admirable attempt to differentiate in a crowded marketplace filled to the brim with zombies and submachine guns. There are 3 core stats: mentality, health, and a psychic power meter. If either your mentality or physical health falls to 0, it's load screens for you. Some creatures dole out psychic damage while others hit you physically, so you'll have to keep an eye on both stats. There's an unremarkable but functional skill tree that you can level up to keep pace with the ramping difficulty. Combat is frantic and 100% hand-to-hand. I like the vulnerability of your player character Jess. Because she's not some pseudo-Navy SEAL, she doesn't perform perfect combat rolls to dodge out of the way of incoming attacks. Instead, and I kinda love this, she awkwardly falls over or stumbles out of the way. You'll need to use all of your arsenal to prevail, which means engagements involve frantically hitting, dodging, throwing oils, and unleashing psychic hell all more or less at the same time. It's pretty satisfying for the most part. You're never given enough power to feel like a juggernaut. I played on normal difficulty, and the ratio of death to victory felt just about right for a survival horror game. But more often than not, it's wiser to juke, dodge, and GTFO than try to engage every enemy that comes your way. This is a survival horror after all, and the resources tend to be quite scarce. But there is a weird thing that goes on when you cross arbitrary borders, like squeezing between some rocks or leaving the Gloom. The monsters who just seconds ago were fully committed to gorging on your entrails just kinda give up and go home. It's a weird thing that unfortunately rapidly puts the brakes on the horror by giving you a quick and easy reprieve. In between fights you'll be tasked with exploring around to pick things up and complete minor puzzles. There's nothing too taxing, which I appreciated. In fact, the hardest part was trying to locate the things you're supposed to find while being relentlessly pursued by a pesky swarm of flies that you can never truly shake off. There's a good backstory here, but it doesn't make it any less annoying. It's ultimately the plot that really drags things down. I didn't mind the whole thing about how your worst inner demons are in fact actual demons, that the fears and insecurities everyone is struggling with are made manifest. No, it was the rest of it that I had trouble with. I nearly choked on my cornflakes when my character wondered aloud if the camp, with its white-robed oddballs and New Age geodome, all seemed a bit culty. No shit, Sherlock. But I guess it wouldn't be a horror if you just paid attention to all the glaringly obvious warning signs. In retrospect, we all should have realized something was up when the demon goat-headed guy showed up and tried to disembowel me. Of course, my character never really bothered to share any of this wild shit with the other wide-eyed morons around her. Oh hey, what's up? Oh hi, I was nearly eviscerated by a giant toad from a psychic dimension. Oh, I was wondering why your freshly dry-cleaned cultist robes have blood all over them. The Chant has that essential quality of the most excruciating horror films, where you're never entirely sure what motivates a character to do the dumb shit they do, when they could be curled up in bed with a good book and a mug of hot chocolate. I was made to frequently palm my own face as my character repeatedly pursued someone she probably wouldn't give 2 shits about, down a dark mineshaft populated by unspeakable horrors. Why? So when the shit truly does hit the fan, and your character wanders around looking like she just stepped out of a food processor, everyone thinks the most logical thing to do is complete the ritual. No, not try to get help or get off the island. Complete the fucking ritual. I watch a lot of horror movies, so I get why characters do stupid shit. It makes it fun. But sometimes, like here, they transcend everyday stupidity and enter a 4th realm of utterly unbelievable garbage that's even too much for me to stomach. And it's at this point that I lose any remaining sympathy for them. It's hard to play a game and feel invested in the protagonist when you realize they have all the self-preservation instincts of a suicidal doorknob. If you don't care whether you live or die, then why am I putting so much effort into trying to save your ass? Everything eventually unravels to a final twist and boss fight that is so predictable that it's like watching a tortoise stampede on the horizon. Something you could have seen coming hours earlier. On the plus side, I liked how the game looked. I thought the character models, environments, and animations were totally fine. Good lighting, good textures, minimal recycling of assets, etc, etc. What's more, I thought they did a great job with the facial expressions and cutscenes. Small smirks, grimaces, downcast glances, they all help to deliver the emotions. I should also add that the soundtrack by Paul Ruskay is rather excellent, and perfectly crafted to suit the game's many influences. It's all gloomy synths and sweeping orchestral strings, and a particularly standout track on the final boss fight, featuring rolling jazz drums and a frenetic tempo. It took me about 8 hours to complete the game, and that's with me picking up and reading as many logs, journals, letters, and postcards as I could, and there are a lot. At the time of completion, a little pop-up informed me that I got the mind ending. What the hell is that? If there are any choices to make in this game, it's not obvious, and if there are multiple endings, it's completely obscure how I would go about changing the outcome in what feels like a completely linear experience. So no, I shall not be going back to replay the Chant. You should also know that while it ran at an average of 70 FPS on my rig, details below, it definitely suffered from moments of stutter like it was struggling to buffer something. Fingers crossed for an optimization patch at some point in the near future. The Chant is a totally adequate survival horror game. It has its intense, scary moments. It looks good and has decent combat. It has an original premise, part Lost, part Stranger Things, with a lot of 1970s psychedelic horror influences. This, and the cool creatures, are let down by a lukewarm plot that sees its characters doing things that unreasonably overstrain your credulity. I don't think it's quite worth the $39.99 price tag they're currently asking for, but if it goes on sale, this psychedelic horror game is different enough to be worth checking out.